All right. The exposure. I wonder if I can do that through my camera settings on my computer. No matter. I guess I'll just have to look like the ghost of Christmas past. It's fine. All right, let me just start this up. Oh, this. Yeah.
There we go.
Now once it's done, just let that play, and then we'll get rolling. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Oh, that's too much. Oh, now it's just highlighting the neck beard. All right, I quit on this light. It's fine. We're just gonna roll with it. Good evening, everybody. Tonight we're going to be debating, is the solar system fake? And to get us start us off, Witsit Gets It is here. And Witsit, the floor is all yours. Good evening, everybody. Tonight we're going to be debating, is
How
the
long is
solar
it supposed to
system
be? I forgot to ask.
this here, well, we can the debate itself. We'll probably try to roll it out like around 2 hours if we can. It's usually what we aim for. If it goes a little longer, that's fine. But I was getting a little feedback there, but I think it stopped. I'm not sure who it was, but we're good to go. So, what's it? 10 minutes on the clock, and it's all yours.
Cool. 10 minutes. All right. I'm going to actually try to keep up with it. All right. So I'm going to share my screen real fast.
Sure.
All right. So we're talking about, is the solar system fake? Basically, geocentrism versus heliocentrism. I didn't really have time to put a specific presentation together, but I have a little something about it. I call this how Einstein's flip-flop buried the heliocentric model. I definitely can't cover all of it in 10 minutes, but we're going to go through it. So here's a quote from Einstein. It says, while I was thinking of this problem in my student years, I came to know the strange result of Michelson's experiment. That's the Michelson-Morley experiment. And he comes down to say, since then, I've come to believe that the motion of the Earth cannot be detected by any optical experiment, though the Earth is revolving around the sun. So he just straight up says, I believe the Earth is moving around the sun, but I can't actually detect it with any optical experiment. So this is, of course, that test. They shot perpendicular light rays. They expected that there would be what's called a fringe shift or an interference pattern of a certain amount based on the assumed rotate or revolution speed of the Earth around the sun. They did not see this. So what they actually said was that the apparatus contracted in the direction of motion with length contraction. So it just made it look like the Earth wasn't moving. It's called the most famous failed experiment in history because it was a quote unquote no result. Although if you look closely, there actually was a slight fringe shift. It was just nowhere near the amount expected. So that's what he's talking about when he says, well, we can't use optical experiments, optics being primarily light. So then afterwards, or after this test, they basically had something on the table that they had to try to figure out. And this guy sums it up pretty good. He says the problem which now faced science was considerable, for there seemed to be only three alternatives. The first was that the Earth was standing still, which meant scuttling the whole Copernican theory and was unthinkable. This is Einstein, The Life and Times. And Copernican principle or theory is, of course, the idea that the Earth does not occupy a special or unique position. Here's Einstein again, and the reason that Einstein's important is because his theory is still the mainstream consensus to try to claim that the Earth is flying around the sun. He says here that the struggle back in the day, if it was heliocentric or geocentric, it was meaningless. Either coordinate system can be used with equal justification. Now, that's his claim, because it actually cannot be equally justified, and we'll cover that tonight. But he says the sun is at rest and the earth moves, or the sun moves and the earth is at rest, are two equally valid statements. It's just about which coordinate system you prefer. So here he says that the motion of the Earth in space cannot be made perceptible in terrestrial experiments, meaning no experiment on the Earth, so optical nor terrestrial experiments, and that all attempts to measure the orbit of the Earth around the sun were negative, and that before he put the theory of relativity forward, it was difficult to even come up with a reason why that was. Here is Steven Weinberg, well-respected physicist. And he explains that if we were to adopt the frame of reference like Tycho's, in which the Earth is at rest, that's the Tycho Brahe Tychonic model, then the distant galaxies would seem to be executing circular turns once a year. Oh, wow, the galaxy just execute a circular turn once a year? That just makes way too much sense. No way that's real. And he just explains that even with relativity, if you apply general relativity, the enormous motion would create forces akin to gravitation, which would act on the sun and planets and give the motions of the Tychonic theory. And he explains that he brought this up in an unpublished Proposition 43 that did not make it to the Principia. He acknowledged that Tycho's theory could be true if some other force besides ordinary gravitation acts on the suns and planets. I'm covering quite a bit, but I'm just going to try to get through it. So anyway, this is Proposition 43 that didn't make the final publication, which is interesting. And he says, in order for the Earth to be at rest in the center of the system of the sun, planets, and comets, there is required both universal gravity and another force, in addition, that acts on all bodies equally according to the quantity of matter in each of them, and is equal and opposite to the accelerative gravity in which the Earth tends to the sun. And thus, celestial bodies can move around the Earth at rest, as in the Tychonic system. That's Isaac Newton himself saying, in fact, yes, the Earth can be in the center. Here is Einstein. Which is very interesting and telling quote. He says, but when I was a student, I saw that experiments of this kind had already been made, in particular by our compatriot Michelson. He proved that one does not notice anything on the Earth that it moves, but that everything takes place on Earth as if the Earth's in a state of rest. So we can just get this idea out that, oh, all science has proven that the solar system's real and we're flying around it. That's absolutely patently false. Here's more. I'm gonna have to skip through some of this. Here's relational mechanics. So there's two important things to be familiar with. There's something called kinematics and dynamics. Kinematics is geometry, basically. So the geometric paths that the planets move, for example, that's called kinematics, just the actual geometry and the path that they move. Dynamics is what causes that to happen, the force that would cause them to move. Now, everyone knows that just with the term relativity, you should understand there's a kinematic equivalence, meaning if I'm standing on the road and I see a carriage go by, it's like, well, the carriage can be moving or I can be moving. That's basically the principle of relativity. And so relativity says, sure, everything looks like the Earth's in the center and not moving, but just because that's our relative position, they're equally valid. So it's a kinematic equivalence. No one could ever dispute that. That's actually the only way the heliocentric model has even gotten to this point, is to claim that it's kinematically equivalent, as in the way the planets move and we see them, it works equally in both scenarios. But there's also a dynamic equivalent. So if anyone's interested in reading up on it, this is Relational Mechanics by Andre Assis. And he breaks down all the math, all the physics using both Newtonian and Einsteinian mechanics, showing that 100% you cannot claim that the dynamic equivalence does not exist. He proves that it does. Here he shows right here, this analysis shows clearly that in general relativity, kinematically equivalent situations are not dynamically equivalent. And what he actually shows here is that there's a problem with the relativistic approach. It doesn't work. But I don't have enough time to explain all of that. But basically, he says, so if you let the Coriolis term become similar to the Lorentz magnetic force, it might be called a gravitational magnetic field generated by the rotation of the set of distant galaxies, meaning that the angular momentum of all the cosmos moving around the Earth will actually keep it in place. And then he goes on to say the flattened figure of the Earth, of course, assuming it's a sphere, not what this is about, or Foucault's pendulum, can no longer be utilized as proofs of the Earth's real rotation. I've sent this to many PhD astronomers, astrophysicists. They've asked for the dynamic equivalence. None of them have come back with anything other than concession. Here is Dr. Luka Popov. We got a few minutes left. He wrote Newtonian-Machian analysis of the Neo-Tychonian model of planetary motions, where he breaks down, again, the math and physics, showing that there is another interesting remark that follows from this analysis. If one put the whole universe in accelerated motion around the Earth, The pseudopotential corresponding to pseudoforce will immediately be generated. The pseudopotential then causes the universe to stay in that very state of motion without any need for exterior forces acting upon it. So this is saying actually using the Newtonian framework, all the physics, all the dynamics is satisfied. The universe, quote unquote, would perpetually move around the Earth. It would only need a primary mover. An important part here is we saw that Einstein and Newton were explaining, well, if there was an equal and opposite reaction or there was an additional force, well, that's what you would have with the entire cosmos moving around the Earth. You would have a centrifugal force, right? And so one might say, oh, well, the centrifugal force would cause it to keep going in a straight line. But no, there's also a Coriolis force that's twice the magnitude. And in this scenario, it would be a real force as opposed to this pseudo fictitious force where all the inertial forces are fictitious in the fairy tale that is heliocentrism. And so it would actually be twice the magnitude, a radially inward accelerative force that would keep it in place. All the physics are satisfied. I don't have time to explain the actual problem with Newtonian and Einsteinian mechanics on the galactic scale, but it's obvious everyone knows this. For example, if you look at the actual galaxy rotations, the Newtonian mechanics only yields about 1/10 the value required to even satisfy the physics. Here's Einstein, actually a letter to Ernst Mach, the Machian principle, basically the one. Long story short, 200 years. It took 200 years after Newton for then Mach to come around and be like, wait, Newton didn't even consider the rest of the universe. He only considered the solar system. So therefore assume that if the sun has a bigger mass, we go around it. If you account for the entire universe, which Newton literally didn't even count for, it just assumed it was absolutely just like there, like a background, then the physics would necessitate you say that the Earth could be in the center. This is Einstein writing back to him saying, yes, you're correct. And it would even actually drag the pendulum around. And then this is him saying special relativity says there's no ether. He gets over to general relativity in 1915. And he's like, oh, I was wrong when I said there was no ether. There has to be an ether. And then he says the story of ether is by no means finished. It's continued by the relativity theory. So I got about a minute left. So we're going to move real quickly. Some people will say, oh, well, in order for this to happen, things would have to go faster than the speed of light. That's impossible. Relativity itself says that in the presence of gigantic masses, that the speed of light could actually be superseded. Einstein himself straight up says that according to the general theory of relativity, the law of the constancy of the velocity of light, which constitutes one of the two fundamental assumptions in the special theory of relativity, and to which we have already frequently referred, cannot claim any unlimited validity. So almost no one here has ever heard that, but that's the truth. That's Einstein's own words. The speed of light is not definitive, even according to relativity. Here's a geocentric path just fitting right within a torus field. Here's the more geocentric paths of planets, and you see it has order and it's coherent. It fits right within a torus field.
10 seconds.
Okay, so long story short, there was an ether vortex measured, and there's no answer for that other than the Earth being stationary, so we can get into it.
All right, well, we'll stop the screen share there. And I want to remind everybody hanging out in the live chat right now, if I sound a little grimy, it's because I'm legit talking through a 1950s microphone. I left my new one at the Jam Space. So Dallas, Texas, that's where we're going to be here in a few days. If you could stop the screen share there, Witsit.
Sorry.
That's all right. I just have to pop the Zoom open again to do that. But yeah, if you want to end it on your end, that's fine. And then we'll get into the next part. But yeah, Dallas, Texas is where we're going to be hanging out for our live debate con 4. You won't want to miss it, folks. We have our tickets linked in the description. I'm going to be there. Witsit's going to be there. Leo, I think, is going to be the MVP of the day. I think he's got a lot of debates going on. Matt Dillahunty is going to be there. Aaron Raw, David Wood, all kinds of great speakers. You won't want to miss it. But in the meantime, let us know where you're hanging out. We'd love to know where you guys are tuning in from and where you're going to be on November 4th when the debate con is happening. I'm in Nova Scotia right now. Where are you hanging out, Witsit? Florida? Well, you'll be in Texas in a few days. What about you, TJump? Do you mind telling us where you're at?
The round Earth.
He's on the round Earth. Well, we're going to hand it over to TJump on that. Let us know where you're at in the live chat, and TJump, 10 minutes on the floor.
Yeah, so the debate topic today is the solar system real? And the answer is yes, the solar system is real. There have been numerous methodologies that can be used in order to verify the existence of the solar system in astronomy. There's radio astronomy, infrared astronomy, refracting telescopes, infrared radiation, optical astronomy, high energy astronomy with X-ray astronomy, gamma ray astronomy, UV astronomy. All these different methodologies can be used to verify and validate many of the facts in the solar system that can be used to provide consilience to get the exact same results around many fields in many countries of tens of thousands of different independent variables that can be verified all by these different methods to be the exact same thing. And the flat earthers are like, nuh-uh, I don't understand math and science and stuff. No. But they can just cry all they want. We don't really care because science makes discoveries. Flat Earth doesn't make discoveries. So if you just want to go to Google Scholar, you can just start reading the papers. Edge of the solar system, large-scale chaos in the solar system, abundance of elements in the solar system, evolution of the solar system, Nuclear gases in the solar system, X-rays from solar system objects. All of these are discoveries which have been made and peer-reviewed by academic sources that can be verified with novel testable predictions. That's what real science is. Flat Earth is just making stuff up. They say, nuh-uh. They use what's called post-hoc rationalization, which is objectively fallacious. And the fact is that they are crank science. Crank scientists use quote mining, like as we saw earlier today, misunderstanding science, misunderstanding math. Don't verify the field. Don't publish peer review. Don't do their own research, and don't publish or do any discoveries. If Flat Earth wants to be taken seriously, they need to make their own kind of a NASA, which makes discoveries equivalent to those made by NASA and other scientific bodies around the world. Until they do that, they are a joke. And I'll end there.
All right, well, I'll turn that preamp back up so everybody can hear me again. I'll remind everybody once again, links are in the description for the tickets to the live debate con. And we also have a link to our crowdfund. You see the thermometer next to the screen there. So if you donate to the crowdfund, you can get all kinds of amazing perks, like a one-on-one with James at the maximum level. If you want to tell him how you can't stand hearing me talking in this old microphone, you'd like to see me stop, you can let him know. Second tier down, you can get a signed picture of your favorite speaker. So definitely check out those links in the description. I'm going to pull out here, guys. We're going to kick it into an open discussion. We'll put it over to you, Witsit, to respond to what you just heard there.
I mean, there's not much to respond to. It's just a bunch of ad homs and poisoning the well fallacies, and red herring, because we're not talking about flat Earth. We were talking about, is the solar system real, which is the idea that the Earth revolves around the sun with a bunch of planets in an ever-expanding universe. That's the debate, not about, I think flat earthers are stupid. You said something about no peer-reviewed. I just showed you published peer-reviewed papers showing the dynamic equivalence, and you said, no, I don't like math and physics and stuff. Okay, well, let's see if you can rebut the math and physics then. So what's wrong with the Newtonian, Neo-Tychonian analysis of the dynamic equivalence? Or do you not know what that is, and we can discuss it?
Absolutely none of them support flat Earth or reject the solar system. So that's the problem. Every single academic source agrees there is a solar system. That's the problem. So I don't need to discuss any of it. I don't need to know any of the math, because every single paper academically published supports the solar system. So if you're quoting a paper that's academically published, it agrees with the solar system. I don't want to hear your misinterpretations and your misunderstandings of math. It's not really worth my time. I don't really care. What I want to see is, I want you to build an institute like NASA, make discoveries under the flat Earth, no solar system model, publish your papers in peer review so other people can check them like NASA does. Till then, I really don't care what you don't understand.
Yeah, I know. I get you're projecting your own intellectual ineptitude. You're going to get really uncomfortable. That's what's going to happen, but it's all good. I'm going to keep it cool while you're clearly about to get very uncomfortable. Okay, so that's a published paper about the Newtonian Neo-Tychonian analysis of the dynamic equivalence of a geocentric model and a heliocentric model. I think it's very obvious that you don't know what that means. It's okay. But if you just respond with more ad homs, it isn't going to change anything. It is a peer-reviewed paper saying that if the Earth is stationary and in the center and everything moved around it, that you can use both Einsteinian and Newtonian mechanics to show that it's perfectly valid. And here's the real kicker. The geocentric model is more valid. So if you want to talk about the actual subject, there's no way for like 2 straight hours you can just add on me, right? I mean, you got to do better than that. So like, do you know any of this? How about this? Let's do it like this. Can you give me one piece of exclusive evidence that the Earth is moving around the sun?
See, this is the example of the post-hoc rationalization I mentioned earlier. All pieces of evidence can be explained by infinitely many hypotheses. You can make up fat pixie leprechauns made the world 5 seconds ago and put delusions in us, and that would explain everything. Doesn't make a difference if you can explain the past data. What matters is novel predictions. Flat earthers have 0. Science has 1,000,000. Science wins. I don't really care about your non-published, non-peer-reviewed paper that is fake. It's not interesting to me at all. I know.
All right, so can I share my screen, since he's lied 3 times now? So we're gonna thoroughly just have to
sure, go for
this
it.
guy.
You can share. Go ahead.
So now we're gonna show the paper that's fake. The paper's fake and it's not peer reviewed. Just remember
Yep.
that was his response here.
I'll give you a second there to get your screen
Yeah,
share up.
Yeah, let me find it.
Excellent.
I mean, I don't know what. Can you not just admit maybe you haven't read the paper? You know,
I'm
like
pretty
why
sure I debated the guy who wrote it actually on my
really
channel.
Luka Popov. You debated a
Pretty
PhD
sure.
astrophysicist. That's crazy. You debated the
So
PhD astrophysicist.
do you have the paper
Luka
yet?
Popov?
Are you gonna pull up the paper?
Wait. Can you admit you don't know anything about the paper?
Are you gonna pull it up or not? Like
Yeah,
I've read
I
a
have
number
to-
of these fake published papers about geocentrism from a number of people on my channel,
Fake?
and they're all fake. So please pull it up.
Okay, this is hilarious.
Yeah, let's
This
bring
is
up the paper and discuss
I
the
will.
paper.
I
think
have to
that'd be
look up
fun.
the paper. Yeah, I have to look up.
It's
the
all
paper.
good. Take your time. I keep getting the screen switched over there. Ooh, I better get the ticker back on. But once again, everybody hit the like, hit the sub, and we're gonna carry on here once
Okay,
Witsit's got
so
his
just to show
info
the
there.
name of the paper real fast, 'cause I have to look through my PDFs. We'll show the name again because everyone's got
A
Google.
link.
You know, conveniently, it is 2023. Everyone's got Google. I don't know why it's not showing the screen. Share screen. Here it is. Okay. So, Dr. Luka Popov, Newtonian Machian analysis of the Neo-Tychonian model of planetary motions. Just to make sure everyone's clear, your current rebuttal is this paper is fake. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And then let's go to the next one. The next one here. This is an entire book. Okay. Relational Mechanics
Books
by
aren't
Andre
published
Assis.
papers.
Is this also fake?
Yeah. So the fake books aren't published papers. So anybody can publish a book.
You know, it's not just anybody. It's a professor in physics.
Yeah, crazy people publish books all the time. Witsit. That's not an accomplishment. Where
You're
is my
so
published
goofy.
paper? I wanted a published paper in an academic
There
peer-reviewed
it
journal.
is. There it is. So, and we'll actually find the actual PDF. And what's so funny is I actually talked to you. Said you debated this guy. You're just making stuff up. But I actually
I've debated
was
a number of physicists who claim to be flat earthers
Don't
who
care.
publish papers. So
We're not talking about
that was
flat
that
Earth.
was the argument.
Yeah, I know you desperately want to poison the well.
No,
'Cause you have no
geocentrism,
chance.
flat earth, same thing. Doesn't make a difference. They're both
They're literally not
cranks.
the same thing.
They're
Okay.
the same. They're just cranks who don't understand science. That's all it is.
But do you know what dynamic equivalence means?
Dynamic means variable system, and equivalence means that there's some equal system between
No,
those two
no.
things. That's what it means.
In the terms of heliocentric
Do
and
you have
geocentric-
any discoveries for me? Any
Dude,
discoveries?
there's a kinematic and dynamic
Do
equivalence.
you have any discoveries? I want a discovery.
All right, let's stop the
You may
screen share
rage
there.
quit. This is gonna get
Wait,
bad.
don't stop the screen share. I'm still looking up. I haven't found
Okay.
I haven't found this paper in any academic journal yet.
Dude,
Okay.
and like I think it's crazy that you're this desperate, but so what I want to know,
I found papers
Let's-
saying this guy is a crank. This is a published paper in Cornell University saying he's a crank. That I found. In self-contradiction, Mechanian.
do you know what the
geocentrism
genetic
and tales of
fallacy is?
absent
All right,
space.
hold on a second there, Witsit. Let's let him speak for a little bit.
Wait, Jane,
He
hey,
took-
can you help me out? Is this
he-
guy debating right
what-
now, or am
what-
I tripping, or is he just insulting the whole time? Maybe you can help me out. With that.
Well, he has had a lot less time to speak as for right now, so I'm going to let him have the floor where he had his thoughts. So over to you, TJump.
So this is a paper that shows he's a crank. Luka Popov has attempted to advance Machian physics by maintaining that the heliocentric system must be replaced by Tycho Brahe's geocentric system. We show that while geocentrism relies on Mach's contention that accelerates a relative, this contention is unstable because blah, 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 blah. This just shows he's a crank. So yeah, he's a crank. Do you have any actual discoveries for me?
Okay, so he's got nothing, and I'm not gonna lie, like this is
In
maybe-
Self-Contradiction, Machian Geocentrism,
Where's
and
the
Tales of
mod
Absolute
now?
Space by Herbert Harmon, actual published peer-reviewed
Wow.
Cornell University.
We only mod one way. I guess TJump has all the juice or something.
Well, no, I have asked multiple times. Do you have any discoveries?
Was
for
I?
me?
Can you just? You look really ridiculous. You're interrupting and ad homing.
Is
the
that a
whole
no?
Well, let's let him respond to that point there, and we'll try to carry on from there. And once again, if you can, for our audience, Witsit tied into how this shows that the solar system is fake, just to remind our audience
I'm
how we're
trying.
tying all this together. Okay.
And you can
Yeah. And-
in
and-
the screen
and
share
now
now.
it's
So I've
his turn
shown
to
he's
talk
a
again.
crank.
right?
You
Let's
can-
end the screen
in
share if you don't mind.
This
Sorry
is
about that.
this is bad. This better change, bro, because it's not worth my time to come here and do this. to be interrupted and insulted the whole time. This dude, clearly he's uncomfortable. He knows nothing about
Can you get on
this.
with the point? Because I know you don't know how to debate, but if you could get on with the point, that'd be great.
Okay.
So do you have any
Don't
discoveries?
interrupt me.
All right, just one
Don't-
second there, TJump. I don't want to put you on mute, but I'll have to let him respond just right quick, and then we'll pass back to you. Don't worry. Oh, back to you, Witsit.
Okay. So all he's had so far is poisoning the well, ad homs, red herrings, and then a genetic fallacy. So when we're talking about this published paper, he claimed there's none that exist and that it was fake. Now I've shown the whole room what it is. I now have the actual PDF pulled up as well. It's a real paper by a real physicist, okay? And it has all the math and physics in it. So a genetic fallacy is where you discredit the information or argument based on the source of the information. It's very remedial. It's a very remedial fallacy. If you want to actually dispute the physics or math, we could happily do that. But I think that this is a tactic because you don't know them. The point is that if the Earth is
5
in
seconds,
the
we gotta let him
center of
respond.
the cosmos and everything was moving around it, there is a dynamic equivalence. Do you know what that means?
So Witch is again just showing he's ignorant of all of the topics, all of the field. He's saying, oh, hey, look, a crank published a paper, therefore it's correct. That's not how science works. So he doesn't know that. But again, the thing I asked for is, where are your discoveries? My discoveries: NASA Perseverance rover landed on Mars in February, exploring the crater, and has made significant discoveries, including identifying the presence of ancient river deltas and collecting rock samples, and will return them to Earth. This is a discovery. Where are your discoveries, Flurf?
Okay. Yeah. And like, I can't believe you guys allow this. But anyway, so we're not talking about flat Earth. I know that this is your guest.
I asked a question.
Can you stop interrupting me?
No, I asked a question. I want an answer to my question. Where are your discoveries?
Okay. Don't interrupt me. Be a big boy.
No.
If we do
What
need
is
to go
going
into,
on, dude? Because I
if
will
we do-
actually leave. I'm
right.
This dude doesn't have juice over me where I'm like so beneath him I can't speak.
Well, I was gonna say, if we do
You
need
are.
to move into like a 1 minute
See?
back and forth, if we need to move into a 1 minute back and forth, if you guys
Well,
are
there's
all
no
really
back and forth.
spicy
No,
off
no.
the bat.
I'm not interested in hearing your words right now. What I want is an answer to my question. Where are your discoveries? I don't want to hear
There
your.
are people here that like this guy.
Okay, where are your discoveries? You have to answer the question. If you don't, I interrupt you. That's how it works. Where are your discoveries?
But you ignored 5 questions I asked. So you don't have any discoveries. And if
I just
were
listed
to
one.
why are you interrupting me again?
Because you lied. So I listed one. Perseverance rover discovered
Bro,
significant discoveries, including identifying the perseverance of ancient river deltas and collecting rock samples. There you go. There is one discovery. So you lied. There's a discovery. Where are your discoveries?
I promise you, and I'm saying this so James can see it, if the rest of this debate is this dude condescendingly interrupting me every time I speak, I will not come back on modern day debate. That's a promise.
It would be better for it. Where are your discoveries?
Just so you know, I promise, because
Answer
it's
the
not,
question.
I'm trying to.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, I was just
I'm
saying,
literally
let me
waiting
answer
for
the
you to
question.
answer the question.
Without like hyper analyzing. Let's just see if we can answer the question and carry on from there, guys.
You're actually advocating what he's doing. That's pissing me off. I'm gonna leave.
Any
So-
day. Any day. You've had
Okay,
5 minutes.
Bro, you said my discoveries. Where are your discoveries?
Yes.
First of all, don't interrupt me. First of all, you don't have any
I
discoveries.
literally just listed one.
All right,
Dude,
just
I
1
can't-
second there, TJump.
Dude,
We'll
it's
just have to let him respond. So I quit.
So laughably immature. Everything that you listed isn't exclusive to heliocentrism anyway. So if I pretended, oh, you have all those discoveries, or, oh, perseverance on Mars, oh, there's a rover on Mars, everything you named isn't exclusive to heliocentrism anyway. Okay, so now that we debunked that, here are my discoveries. The fact that in 1933, Fritzowicki saw that the actual relativistic prediction of the galaxy clusters needing 99% more mass than it was actually predicted showed that relativity cannot explain why the galaxies don't escape the galaxy clusters.
Not a
Edwin
discovery.
Edwin Hubble's in the 20s showed that actually that the Earth seems to be in the center, even according to distant galaxies.
Not a
where they
discovery.
had to update the model. There's 2 discoveries that
No,
completely
neither of
refute
those are discoveries. So the first thing, again, you just don't understand the philosophy of science. Saying that something can't explain something else isn't a discovery. That's not how discoveries work. Secondly, your first thing you said, again, that's post hoc rationalization. You need to Google that. I know you don't know philosophy, you don't know science, you don't know math, you don't know anything. But post hoc rationalization is when you say, I can explain the data with something else. So every time you say, oh, that data isn't exclusive to your model, that's just you being dumb, because that's not how evidence works. Everybody who knows basic science and basic like kindergarten level philosophy know that you can explain multiple data sets with any different number, infinitely many possible alternatives. That doesn't make it not evidence, Witsit. That just means you're dumb. So yes, that is evidence
Okay.
that we've sent rovers to Mars. We have made discoveries. That is not evidence of the flat Earth or your silly model. And nothing you listed was actually discovery. What you said is it can't be explained by. That's just post hoc rationalization. What are your discoveries? Because I have some. I'm going to list another one for you. Phosphine in Venus. In September 2020, scientists detected traces of phosphine in Venus's atmosphere, a potential indicator of biological activity. Discovery by us, not by you. Where are your discoveries?
This is the most disrespected I think I've ever been by a platform. Don't interrupt me. I know you have impulse control issues. Okay, so I did give specific discoveries. Okay, in 1933, it was discovered by Fritz Zwicky that when he observed the galaxy clusters, that it only had 1% of the mass predicted by relativity to prevent the galaxies from escaping the cluster. That's when they then had to ad hoc come up with the idea of dark matter, saying there was 99% of undetectable, undefined matter there that we just can't explain or actually detect. That's called a discovery. Do you understand, TJump?
No, that's not a discovery. That's saying there's something we can't explain yet. That's called an argument from ignorance. So saying, here's a model. This model doesn't explain this fact. That isn't evidence of hypothesis B. That's not how evidence works. Again, this is, you don't understand basic philosophy. You don't understand basic fallacies because you're a flurf, and so it's typical. Simply saying this can't be explained by X is not evidence of Y. It's called basic argument from ignorance fallacy. So that's not a discovery. You, again, don't know what a discovery is. I'll give you another example. Water on the moon. Ongoing research and missions such as NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter have provided evidence of water ice on the moon's surface. That's a discovery. A discovery. Boom. Fact about the universe discovered. Not something odd, but this model can't explain blah, blah, blah. No, it's discovery about the solar system. By it not being...
You're literally
Flurfy.
lost.
All right, you
You're
guys are
literally
taking about
lost.
45 seconds
You're
each, so I'm going to put on a
intellectually nuts.
45-second timer each, and we're going to bounce it. So over to you, Witsit.
Okay. So it was objectively discovered, meaning it was the first time it had ever been observed. It was discovered. It was an astronomical discovery that the galaxy clusters, they observed it in astronomy and discovered that the galaxy cluster only had 1% of the mass it was supposed to have. It was discovered. The amount of mass in the galaxy cluster was a discovery, just like Edwin Hubble discovered. No one knew this prior to Edwin Hubble finding it. That's why it's a discovery that the distant galaxies moved in relation to the Earth, which is why he then had to propose a new ad hoc explanation. Do you understand that those are discoveries, or are you just going to ad hoc?
Time. Over to you, TJump.
If you lift up a rock and find a worm, that's a discovery. That's phenomenal. But the topic of the debate is the solar system real? So when I ask for discoveries, I know this tiny brain doesn't understand this. You need discoveries that indicate the FLIRF model, which I'm including in the geocentric model, the FLIRF model. So it's just the FLIRF model. We're going to call it all the FLIRF model. You have to give discoveries that model predicts or entails or indicates that model. You haven't done this. Like all of the predictions about dark energy and the extra gravitational force of solar systems. If a solar system is real, if a galaxy is real, that indicates the solar system is real. This is not debatable.
5 seconds.
So you need to give a discovery that contradicts the solar system, the heliocentric model, and you're giving those that agree with it.
Okay. And this is, and obviously I hope the audience can see that this is called sophistry, the intention to mislead the audience with fallacious arguments, because he doesn't know about any of this. So those discoveries were specifically refutations of the heliocentric model. I'll give some more though, which is that they've now had to update that the accelerative expansion model, which actually comes from the Edwin Hubble discovery of the fact that the distant galaxies moved in relation to the Earth in a central position, which was specifically not predicted by the heliocentric model. They proposed the idea of dark energy to now explain that space is expanding superluminal speeds over 4 times the speed of light. And they don't know what dark energy is to this day. A geocentric model has no problem. It doesn't have accelerative expansion, and everything moves in relation to the Earth because the Earth is in the center. All astronomical observations ever show the Earth in the center.
So everything Witsit said is just painfully stupid. Dark energy exists whether we're in the center or not. So complaining about dark energy just shows he doesn't understand his own model. Because guess what? Everything's expanding out in every direction, whether we're the center or whether the sun is the center. So literally, dark matter and dark energy tell you nothing about whether or not the sun or the Earth is at the center of the sun. It's completely irrelevant. Both data sets for extra gravity in other galaxies and expansion of the universe are there, whether we're the center or not. He's just saying things that he doesn't like about real science and complaining about it and thinking that, well, he disagrees with it, therefore it works for his model. No, you need to provide evidence of something that shows
5 seconds.
the world, Earth is the center and not the sun is the center. That's your problem. And you don't have that. We have sent satellites that go around the sun, land on planets, get data, and send the data back. That's a discovery based on the heliocentric model. You have nothing.
Okay. And I guess this is the whole debate is just going to be him baselessly asserting victory and avoiding the specificity of the actual physics I'm bringing up because he doesn't understand it. But we'll let the audience decide. So again, even if I granted you that probes went around the sun and people landed on Mars and all this stuff, according to relativity, you can't tell if it's you or the Earth that's moving. So even with the inertial forces in your model, they would be fictitious. In a geocentric model, they would be actual forces, inertial forces. There would be a kinematic and dynamic equivalence. So none of that would even be exclusive to the heliocentric model. Secondly, when we specifically tried to measure the motion of the Earth, it was always a negative result. There's not one piece of evidence. And I'm asking again, can you give one piece of exclusive evidence that the Earth moves around the sun?
Gravity. There you go. How about, let's go with another one. OSIRIS-REx mission, October 2020. NASA's OSIRIS-REx spacecraft successfully collected a sample from the near-Earth asteroid Bennu. This is based on all of the equations that demonstrate the heliocentric model that prove gravity goes inwards towards objects with greater mass. And this has been a discovery that's been proven. So there you go, done. And again, you haven't given any examples of anything that indicates geocentrism. Nothing. You keep saying, hey, here's facts about other solar systems, about relativity, which doesn't say anything about heliocentrism. It's just, hey, relativity can't tell the difference. Great. That isn't evidence of your model. Again, that's an argument from ignorance. Witsit doesn't understand basic philosophy, and they say, but it can be explained by multiple hypotheses. Post hoc rationalization. This was covered by Basic Philosophy 101. Witsit needs basic education.
This is funny. Like all you have is ad-homs. So the evidence is all astronomical observations ever show that Earth's in the center. The current heliocentric model literally says, yes, it looks like we're in the center, and that all astronomical observations will look like we're in the center because the universe is accelerating and expanding in all directions. And it uses the analogy of like an ant on a balloon that's blowing up. And since the balloon's so much bigger than the ant, as it looks around, it thinks it's in the center, but it's actually not in the center. It's just expanding in all directions, or a raisin in a loaf of bread in the oven, which is the infamous example that Hubble gave to explain the distant galaxies showing us in the center. When you say I have no evidence the Earth's in the center, no, literally all astronomical observations in the history of astronomy show the Earth's in the center. Your model claims it's just an illusion. That's a fact.
That's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. If you turn your head to the left and the right, guess what? You're going to appear in the center because you can only see the same amount of distance in every direction. So it looks like you're in the center. Is that evidence you're actually in the center of the universe? Because when you look left, you see 100 feet. When you look right, you see 100 feet. Are you in the center, Witsit? No, that's just dumb. It's dumb to think that because when you look in every direction and we have a certain maximum distance we can get information from light coming from different directions, that therefore we're in the center, because as far as we can see in every direction, it's the same distance in every direction, because that's how eyes work. Witsit, good job. Again, you need to provide evidence and discoveries of geocentrism, and you haven't. I'll give another one for heliocentrism. Euclidea's Ocean and the Cassini spacecraft, before its missions end in 2017, found evidence of a global subsurface ocean beneath the icy shell of Saturn's moon, Euclideus, with plumes of water vapor erupting from its surface. Heliocentric discovery that debunks flat Earth and geocentrism.
A little extra time there. What's it?
This is so funny. This is awesome, actually. Now that I think about it, this is going to be recorded forever. So he said gravity proves heliocentrism. I just showed that there's a dynamic equivalence using both Newtonian and Einsteinian mechanics. All this is apparently something he's not understanding, but that is what gravity is. So there's Newtonian and Einsteinian gravity. There's a dynamic equivalence of both Newtonian and Einsteinian. And I've also explained to him that using either one of those, if all these claimed missions, which I don't believe in them, and you're just appealing to the idea that it happened, even if it did, it isn't exclusive to a heliocentric model. He skated past it and he just keeps reading off like Wikipedia names of missions. That's literally all he has. And third, here's a huge piece of evidence. Cosmic microwave background showed that there's actually an anisotropic distribution, an inhomogeneous anisotropic distribution of the background energy that intersects on the Earth. It's coined the axis of evil. And it's a non-local 23.4 degree tilted anisotropic distribution that intersected on the Earth. And to this day in 2023, there is not one single explanation of how it could possibly exist other than the data must be wrong.
Actually, there's like a dozen of them. Just Google the Wikipedia. There's a number of explanations on that. None of it is spectacular. None of it is indicative that the world is the center of anything. Not at all. Just like how in a galaxy, notice it's a disc shape. There's a center of it because gravity spreads out, and a disc shape just because of how things hit one another. So the fact that we're on the disc in galactic universal sense, in the same way we're on the disc in the galaxy sense, again, not surprising at all, fully explained, not an issue. This is why no one takes flat Earth and geocentrism seriously. It's a joke. I'll give another, and again, which it keeps confusing the post hoc rationalization fallacy of saying, but it can be explained by both data sets. Again, that's just Witsit doesn't understand philosophy or science, so we can throw Witsit's argument in the garbage because it's what it is. It's garbage. It's crank garbage because they don't understand how post hoc rationalization works. I'll give another discovery given by actual science of heliocentrism. Kuiper Belt objects, New Horizons spacecraft, having flown by Pluto 2015, is now exploring other Kuiper Belt objects, shedding light on nature of these distant bodies. There you go. That's a discovery. Heliocentrism wins. What is Witsit's discovery? God, no. I can't understand stuff.
A little extra time there. What's it to respond?
Yeah. Just more projection of his own intellectual ineptitude. But again, there's a dynamic equivalence and a kinematic equivalence according to your own model with either Einstein or Newtonian, whichever one you pick. Of course, now people are proposing modified Newtonian dynamics because relativity doesn't work, because dark matter halos have shown that dark matter cannot exist because there is actually no viscosity or resistance whenever the galaxies collide. All that's over your head. Doesn't matter. The point is that all of these missions, which I don't believe in, nor do I have to, nor is it legitimate intellectual evidence in a debate, because it can't be independently verified. If I were to pretend they were all real, objectively, they are not exclusive evidence of heliocentrism because relativity says there is a kinematic and dynamic equivalence. You wouldn't know if the Earth is moving around the sun or the sun is moving from the Earth as you went out into the solar system. None of those missions would be evidence of anything. He also just claimed there were responses to the cosmic microwave background, but there's not. There's anisotropic distribution called the axis of evil that is centered on the Earth, and there is objectively no explanation from a heliocentric position. Let's see if he can actually respond with specificity.
Project Nihilist put a very prescient comment in the chat. First law of Flurf: all their sources disprove their claim. Phenomenal, absolutely true. So again, he just needs he needs to Google what the problem of underdetermination is, because he doesn't understand that him saying, but it can be explained by multiple data sets is called making shit up. That's all it is, making shit up, not evidence. We don't care if you can make up fancy farting leprechauns like the geocentric model to explain data. Anybody can make shit up. There's gods that do that. It's not evidence. So again, real evidence. Solar probe Parker, the Parker solar probe launched by NASA in 2018, has been studying the sun's outermost atmosphere and solar wind, providing crucial data about the star's behavior. Discovery, heliocentrism, you're done. Gravity is working just fine going towards the sun, which means we're going around the sun, and simply saying, but I can explain it with my magic farting leprechaun geocentrism. Well, we don't really care. What are your discoveries?
Oh my God. I gotta say, I'm reading the chat too, and it's crazy. There are people that are actually pretending you're winning. And you don't even understand what I'm saying to you. So yeah, there's a Newtonian Machian analysis that's published. It explains all the math and physics as well as relational mechanics. And you can apply Newtonian or Einsteinian gravity to show that, in fact, the Earth being in the center is equally valid. But the problem is that if there's a kinematic, and watch, he will never respond with this. He's going to list off another mission, which I've already explained that isn't exclusive to heliocentrism. He's going to ad hom me some more. That's all he has is sophistry. He's a textbook sophist. Watch, he will never answer.
Do you have any
question.
evidence?
Watch this. There, if admittedly from your own paradigm with the top levels of physics, Stephen Hawking, Albert Einstein, every top level of physics you can name, you don't understand it, right? If there's a kinematic and dynamic equivalence in validity of a geocentric and heliocentric model, but the geocentric model does not have the dark matter and dark energy problem, wouldn't that mean that the geocentric model is more viable? You'll never answer it. I could ask it for 30 next turns in a row.
That's because you don't understand the question. So the equivalence you're saying is that both the heliocentric and geocentric model can explain the data. That's the equivalence you're arguing for. The dynamic stuff is just you making crap up. It doesn't apply to anything. You actually need a noun to say this is dynamic and equivalent. You can't just say dynamic equivalence. That's not a thing. There is no such thing as dynamic equivalence because there's no noun there to say what is equivalent. You need to say like the mass is equivalent or the momentum is equivalent. You need a noun there. You don't understand what you're talking about. Secondly, the geocentric model does have the dark matter and dark energy problems because those problems have nothing to do with the orientation of whether we go around the Earth or sun. It's completely irrelevant. Dark matter is the fact that there's more gravity in a galaxy that isn't the solar system. That's very, very far away from. It doesn't make a difference if the geocentric or the heliocentric model. The mass in there is more than it should be. There's no difference. Heliocentric, geocentric makes no difference. Same with dark energy, no difference. So Witsit bringing up problems of science that he doesn't understand, didn't actually explain. He failed to explain how these indicate the geocentric model. He didn't explain this at all. He just says problems in science.
All right, a little extra time on the clock to respond there. What's it?
Yeah. The reason these are like kind of nuanced, higher level subjects that TJump doesn't understand the first thing about, so it's kind of difficult, but it's to really go into the depth. But when I'm talking about Fritz Zwicky 1933, it was dark matter. You can look it up. It was discovered that relativity was off by 99% with this prediction. Geocentrism doesn't have that problem because there is an ether, right? And if you look at Michelson-Morley, the only reason ether is thrown out is because, well, if the Earth is orbiting, there can't be an ether. Well, the Earth isn't orbiting. There's no evidence for that ever. The default position is that we're in the center. That's what all empirical evidence shows. Occam-Razor necessitates we say that. So to prove that it's the other, you would have to actually provide evidence. Anyway, so the ether gives a substantive quality. Therefore, you don't need dark matter. Also, the Earth being in the center, you don't need an accelerative expansion. And that is called the Hubble constant, okay? Because Hubble discovered that supposedly the universe was expanding. It was the only way to explain why it looked like the Earth was in the center of the universe, no matter where you looked. So it said it was expanding. That's Hubble constant. Then you have cosmological constant, which is the energy required to make it expand at that rate, which is now over 4 times. Okay.
Let's try the basics.
Geocentrism doesn't need the dark energy because there doesn't need to be an accelerative expansion.
Okay, let's break this down for this childlike logic. The Hubble constant, what we're measuring is the change in the light frequency as it gets farther away, right? It redshifts. It gets farther away it is, the more it redshifts, right?
That's what your model claims, yeah.
Right, and that data is the same regardless of whether we're in the geocentric or the heliocentric model. Wherever we look, it's more redshifted the farther away it is, right?
Nope.
What?
No.
How?
Because there are certain observations that are more local that have more redshift, like supernovas.
Clearly, but that's not the question. The question is do the farther away we look, is it more redshift? It's saying there's a closer thing that's redshifted. I didn't care. That wasn't the question. The question is does the farther away we look, things always get more redshifted the farther away? Yes. And that's the same on geocentrism and heliocentrism.
Okay.
It's still the same, right?
Well, different explanations, right? So light attenuation causes redshift, and so does electromagnetic retardation.
That's not the point. Both have the same problem. That's the dark energy problem. Both have the same problem. Whether you call it something different doesn't make a difference. Both have the same problem. You said you explain it in a different way. That's fine. You can make up some farty fairy dust to make it up, but that means yours is worse than the ones that are based in real science. Dark energy makes novel predictions based on things why we explain it as something like the expanding of space-time. Your magic fairy dust from geocentrism does not. The ether magic fairy dust. It does not explain anything. It doesn't actually mean anything to say there's an ether there. That doesn't solve the dark matter problem. That doesn't tell us anything about the dark matter problem. You're just saying there is space goo. Space goo. That's phenomenal, but that doesn't solve the problem. You still have the problem, and you still have to make something up to solve it. And the thing you're making up has no basis in reality. Therefore, yours is worse.
All right, extra time there. Witsit to respond.
Yeah, it's funny. What do you call it? Like magic fairy dust or whatever. Dark energy is not even defined in the top levels of physics.
Oh,
So to pretend that somehow that is significantly more superior than ether is laughable, because actually I'll quote Robert Laughlin from Harvard University that specifically does this. He's a quantum vacuum physicist specifically. He says there is for sure something in the vacuum akin to an ether, and whenever it's hit or excited strong enough, that it then begins to actually manifest in the material world as matter. So he says if you hit it sufficiently enough, and I could do all kinds of things. Quantum is acknowledging quantum foam, all kinds of things, that there is in fact an ether. We know there's an ether, but heliocentrism can't have it. So what it does, it says the quantum realm is different than everything else because you can't have an ether on the cosmological scale inside the heliocentric model. That's your own problem. But whenever he said that ether was somehow like fairy dust, it's so funny because everyone knows that dark energy is not defined and no one knows what it is. In fact, they looked at the quantum vacuum. It was off by 10 to the 120th power for the amount of energy needed in the universe. So they can't even come up with a theoretical what it could be. It doesn't make any novel predictions. No one even knows what it supposedly is. It's just needed to explain how the universe has to be expanding over 4 times faster than the speed of light. And electromagnetic rate retardation explains redshift on a geocentric position. You don't need expansion.
So you think when scientists use the word dark energy, they're referring to something, like there is a thing they are referring to. There's like this new thing that they think it is. Is that what you think they're referring to when they say dark energy?
Yeah, a specific type of energy is what is proposed to be. That's right.
No. Oh my
Wow,
God. That's so stupid. Dark energy is a label for a phenomenon that we don't know what is the cause of. That's it. That's dark energy. The dark there means we don't know what this is. It is not a new kind of energy. It is not a new kind of particle. We're not saying that. When scientists say there is dark energy, what they mean is there is this data that we see and we don't know what it is. So the geocentric model has the same dark energy problem. It is a thing that we see and we don't know what it is. That's it. That's all it means to say dark energy. That's all it means to say dark matter. We're not actually claiming it's this new thing that is the dark energy. It's the dark, like, no, it just means unknown phenomenon, which we labeled this. That's it. So the geocentric model and the heliocentric model both have the dark energy problem because there is a phenomenon. We don't know what it is. And this is the label for it called dark energy. It's not an actual claim of what it's supposed to be made of. Witsit, it's just a label for the unknown phenomenon. What about this don't you get?
Before we kick it back over to Witsit, we got about 20 minutes before we go into Q&A, and let me know what you guys are thinking. If you would prefer me to be off the mute when I'm doing the timing, because some of you guys are in the live chat saying you're muted, Mod, but I intend to be muted because I'm just a sophisticated timekeeper right now to keep things fair. So back to you, Witsit, and you can let me know in the live chat what you think.
Okay. So you saw how condescending he was when he was saying, you don't even know what dark means. It just means we don't know what it is. Okay. What it actually means is it does not interact with the electromagnetic spectrum. Dark means it isn't visible with light. It doesn't interact with the electromagnetic spectrum because we haven't been able to detect whatever it is. So we call it dark because it must not interact with the electromagnetic spectrum. It doesn't mean we don't know what it is. It means it doesn't interact with electromagnetic radiation. Okay. And when it comes to dark energy and dark matter, and he's going to try to play it off like that's what he meant to say. Right. That's what he was saying. When it comes to dark matter and dark energy, it is a specific, either something that has material characteristics and something that has energetic characteristics, but no one knows what it is. The geocentric model does not need that, and it's 96% more viable because of that. You'll never specifically rebut it. You can't. There is no rebuttal.
A little extra time there, TJump.
So the level of stupid is cringe here. Like, Witsit literally said it doesn't interact with the electromagnetic field, which is great. Great. Does that tell us what it does do? No. So here's the thing it doesn't do. Great. Does that tell us what it is? No. So my claim was we don't know what it is. And he said, we don't know what it is, and we don't know it doesn't do this. Okay. Is that a claim we do know what it is? No, it's a claim. We don't know what it is. We don't know what it is. We don't know what it's made of. And so we label it dark energy. If it interacted with the EM spectrum, we know what it is. We have some kind of data for it. We don't have any data for it. That's the dark energy and dark matter problem. We don't know what they are. We know some things they don't do. We don't know what they do. And so there is a data set that we don't know what it is, and we need to explain it. Guess what? Geocentrists have the same problem. They just explain it with
5
magic
seconds.
space goo. There are explanations for dark matter like WIMPs. WIMPs are a potential explanation of dark matter. We don't call WIMPs dark matter because dark matter is a class of an unknown. WIMPs are a potential explanation for the unknown. Magic ether space goo is a different potential explanation of dark matter. Both have the problem of dark matter and both have hypothetical solutions. Witsit just doesn't get the basic problem of what dark means in physics.
All right, a little extra time, Witsit.
The audacity for him to act like I don't know what it means when I actually had to correct him. He said that dark means we don't know what it is. That's objectively not what it means in physics. It means it's undetectable due to the lack of interaction with the electromagnetic spectrum. And then I get it. You're coping. I get your coping.
Undetectable.
It's okay. So
don't
here's the reality.
know.
Stop interrupting me.
Synonyms.
It's his time right now.
Synonyms. Undetectable. Don't know. Synonyms. Those are
So
synonyms.
funny,
Witsit.
All right. Another 45 seconds on the clock there,
Okay,
Witsit.
thanks. Yeah. So, and he said it's just a phenomenon. We don't know what it is. I was like, okay, well, no. Like, for example, with dark matter, it has to have material characteristics. WIMPs is a claim that is baryonic matter. He doesn't even know what this stuff is. He's just like Googling like catchphrases and stuff. He doesn't know any of it, but it's a claim that it's super like small baryonic matter, right? That we can't really detect from these distances. Okay. That's the claim, but it's also been thoroughly debunked. I would also like to point out, and you can go to my channel and learn all about this, which it gets, I cover this on Relatively Speaking show, right? But there are many physicists coming out saying it's like basically split camps now. It's like, okay, relativity is so bad, dark matter so bad, we had to do away with it. Modified Newtonian dynamics might be the better option because dark matter doesn't work because the dark matter halos show that it actually doesn't match the predictions. My point again, though, is the geocentric model doesn't need dark matter or dark energy, which means it's 96% more viable than the heliocentric model.
Again, Witsit is just kind of just blatantly dumb here. Dark matter isn't a thing. It's not a thing. It is an unknown phenomenon, which could be explained by a number of things. Witsit explains it with magic space goo. That is dark matter. In his world, magic space goo ether is dark matter. So dark matter does exist on geocentrism. Would you disagree, Witsit? Do you think that the problem of dark matter, the data we see, you solve that by saying there's magic space goo, right?
No, I don't have a problem with dark matter. I don't need dark matter.
Dark matter is a set of data. How do you explain the set of data?
Well, no, it's a set of data assuming relativity is true.
No, it's a set of data. There's no assumption there. We look at galaxies. There is more mass than what would be expected. That's it. You explain that, right? You think the magic space goo holds it into place, right? You think the magic space goo holds it into place. So you have an explanation of this.
5 seconds.
This is crazy. So yeah, with the galaxies, I explained it, right? I explained that they made the observation that the galaxy should be leaving the cluster. The reason that there's not enough mass there, well, how do you determine not enough? Well, you have to have something that's giving you a prediction that there should be this amount, and there's not that amount. That something is relativity. That's why many people are proposing modified Newtonian dynamics to replace relativity to do away with the dark matter problem, because assuming dark matter, even though it's undefined, it doesn't work with dark matter halos and galaxy collisions and merging. Oh, for sure. So you were wrong again. The reason dark matter comes from relativistic assumption. Now, let me say this one more thing. The Earth, if the Earth is in the center, when we make all our observations, we'll probably see that it looks like the Earth's in the center. The heliocentric model says, oh, it's expanding. That's why it looks like that. That's why you need dark energy, but we don't. Do you not understand the concepts?
A little extra time there, TJump.
So Witsit is dumb. Dark energy is a phenomenon that when we look further away, we see redshift. You see that in both different ways to explain it. is having the same problem and explain it with different hypotheses. That's all it is. Witsit just doesn't get this. I'm going to go back to actual discoveries that actually matter, because Witsit's saying is stupid. Ganymede's magnetic field in June 2021, the Juno spacecraft orbiting Jupiter discovered that Ganymede, one of Jupiter's moons, generates a strong magnetic field, making it the only moon in the solar system known to do so. Discovery made by sending satellites around planets and stars using gravity, using general and special relativity to accurately send things into space and make testable predictions and confirm them, something that flurfs have never done. We need discoveries. Nothing Witsit has said is a discovery. Nothing Witsit has said is anything a flurf or a geocentrist nut has ever done to make a real discovery in the world. They're kind of like idealists. They like to think in their big chairs about big fancy words they don't understand, and then hypothesize about explanations, and then never do any tests to confirm it. And so until they actually build like a NASA where they can do tests in the universe and confirm it with stuff, they really have nothing but armchair making stuff up.
So basically all he's resorted to, and it's really what he started with, is a bunch of fluff. I hope that obviously the audience, whoever's claiming I'm getting wrecked, is just super biased. I've invited you to have intellectual specificity, but frankly, it's very obvious that you don't know about this stuff. So you have to resort in this like fluff sophistry. It's whatever. But I'm trying to point out that all observations show that the Earth's in the center. The heliocentric model of 2023 agrees with that. So that's retrograde, parallax, the planetary motion of the like the orbits of the planet. All of that looks like the Earth is in the center, according to your own model. They claim the reason it looks like that is because the universe is accelerating and expanding. But we have the Hubble tension problem, the inflation problem, the horizon problem, the flatness problem. We have the dark energy and dark matter problem in your paradigm. Now, in a geocentric Earth, the reason it looks like we're in the center is because we are, and we don't have any of those problems, which means objectively it's more viable.
So again, I already debunked Witsit on this. He doesn't understand post hoc rationalization. He doesn't understand underdetermination. The fact that you can make up farting fairy dust explanations of other data doesn't make yours better. It just means you're making shit up. I'm ready to go to Q&A.
I bet you are.
I dunked on you enough for the day. I'm good.
Everyone knows that you don't know anything about all this.
Except I corrected you multiple times.
We have to have closing remarks, though.
Well, I usually do the closing remarks here. I'm going to come off the mute right quick. I usually do them after the Q&A just because sometimes we get into a lot of back and forth if we missed it throughout the open discussion. Because sometimes people ask really good questions and we can, get into some of the stuff that we didn't get into during the debate. So anybody watching in the live chat right now, hit that like button. Share this out in those contentious spaces that you like to have these discussions. Me and Ozian are going to be doing an after show over on Matters Now, so you can hang out over there. These guys are welcome to join us as well. We're going to run into our Q&A, but I'm also going to do a little extra housekeeping here and remind you once again that our tickets for DebateCon 4 are linked in the description. So if you're seeing double, it's because Witsit's going to be there, and he's going to be debating Leo, Phileas. Who else? You're going to be debating a couple times too, aren't you, Witsit?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No? Okay. I thought I'd seen your face a few times. Maybe it's just because you're a popular guy.
There was another one tentatively, but people get scared to defend atheism nowadays. So.
Oh no, someone got scared. Well, that's no fun. Well, either way, if you're seeing double, that's because Witsit down here is going to be debating creationism versus atheism against Leo Phileas. You're not going to want to miss it. So get your tickets in the description below if you're going to be in the Dallas area and you can make it. And let us know in the live chat where you're at right now. We're going to be hanging out in Dallas, of course, for the convention. It is all going to be streamed live for free on YouTube as well. I know, shooting ourselves in the foot a little bit by just offering it to you for free, but that's how we roll here at Modern Day Debate. If you can't help us out by being there for the live event, you can't purchase tickets. You see this little crowd fund I'm moving around over here. That's a little indicator of another thing we have going on where you can donate to our crowd fund and get access to perks such as a signed picture of your favorite debater. So without further ado, let's go into the Q&A and see if we can stir the pot of this discussion, everybody. All right. Run Boston Bear for $4.99 says, Witsit brings the truth. If you reject it, the programmer is strong with you. We don't live on a spinning water ball. I recommend investigating. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the truth is most people it's easier to be like, haha, you're dumb. Haha, you think you're smarter than scientists. And, it's maybe the truth's not for them. I mean, I encourage you to not worry about what other people think. And consensus has consistently been wrong about pretty much everything, even within quote unquote currently accepted science. So just research things yourself thoroughly, because attacking other people and belittling them and pretending that you know things that you don't is not really going to do anything, even if you convince other people. Like, you should be worried about truth for yourself. It's good for your soul.
Any thoughts over there, Tom?
Google the properties of quack science. If you just Google like the stages of quack science, you will take like 4 or 5 sentences out of what Witsit just said, or I think half of them.
Okay, well, let's carry on there, gents. Ozian Talk says, Tom will always have enough hair for a comb over. I don't usually read comments about someone's physical appearance, but I think we're all over 30 and we all got a good hairline going on. Like, rocking it, fellas, rocking it. All right, Run Boston Bear for $4.99. News flash: in Austin's opener, he wasn't just making stuff. Check everything he said and it'll hold water. I think they meant just making stuff up. Check everything he said and it'll hold water. It may also set you free from deception. So you got a fan with Run Boston Bear? Thoughts on Run Boston Bear's input there, Witsit?
Yeah, shout out to Run Boston Bear. I just kicked it with him at Flattoberfest in Vegas. He's super cool dude. That's my homie. He's a legend. Yeah, I will say, right, this is a conversation that requires some time. So for me to try to unpack it in 10 minutes, or with someone that's not like really trying to be honest about the specific information in the heart of it, I mean, it's more than that. But do look up the stuff, look up the papers, look up the books, read the math, read the physics. And I have a show called In the Field, where I have astronomers, astrophysicists, different people with credentials on, and you can maybe just glean from those conversations 2 or 3 hours. In fact, I'll take this opportunity to say I have one on the 1st. We're going to talk about the ether vortex, and this is a legend that's going to be on there. So yeah, just invest the time required, because all good knowledge requires some time.
Any thought on that, Tom? Ether vortex or conversations with those individuals?
People have gone through the science with Witsit many times, like Katz, and they've shown him that he knows absolutely nothing and that all of his sources debunk himself, but it's not really worth the time.
All right, well, let's carry on from there then. Thanks everybody for hanging out in the live chat. And if you are hanging out in the live chat and you're enjoying what you're hearing from either of our speakers, they will be linked in the description. So if they're not linked now, they will be linked post the debate also in our podcast, because all of these debates get uploaded to a podcast form within 24 hours. So if you're watching right now and you're in the live chat, hit the like button. I see we're sitting around 250
Hey Ryan, look,
likes.
is there any way we can work something out where I can go downstairs and like fill my glass and piss real fast and then be back? Like if there are questions for him, like it'll be like just a couple minutes.
Yeah, just go.
You hit me in a soft spot. You rhymed, okay? Like,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah,
I got to do it.
fly, you fool, fly. It's all good. Do the Gandalf for you. All right, see you in a few. All right, so let's see what we got here for TJump. Yeah, and you know why they couldn't fly on the Eagles? Because the Eagles would have wanted the ring as well. There you go. All right, so that's your Lord of the Rings input. This one went from Run Boston Bear, and I might take one out of Witsit's chapter here and give you the floor for a second here. TJump. All the discoveries you keep listing are biased in philosophy that infinite space is real. It's not. No one has played golf on the moon.
Yes, they have, but none of the discoveries I listed are contingent on infinite space. They don't care whether space is infinite or not. All they need to do is it's contingent on the ability to launch shuttles and things across the solar system, like across the sun, through gravitational trajectories in order to land where they want them to land. That's all you need for these discoveries. You don't need any infinite space stuff.
All right. Ryan, do some housekeeping from you hooligan. Yeah, I did. I thought I did the housekeeping. I'll remind everybody once again. Tickets are linked in the description. We're going to be in Dallas, Texas. So let us know in the live chat where you're hanging out. I'm in Nova Scotia right now. We heard from both of our speakers. You can go back in the video. I pitched it at the very beginning. So we know where everybody's at, but I can't remember where everybody's at. So don't count on me. Let's carry on with the Q&A. I'm just going to search for another one here. for you. LJ, hey, you made it. This is the right time for you. You're always commenting on the space debates, always making space comments. I'm really glad to see that you're here, and this will hopefully keep us in the zone. He said, brainwashed TJump. Well, that seems real on the money, right? Like, good stuff there, LJ. If the moon was physical and asteroids were real, we'd have videos from Earth of asteroids hitting the moon by now. Why don't we have one? I think actually
What?
I might read that just one more time, just because Witsit's here. So first to you, T-Jump, and then I'm going to take my opportunity. He says, if the moon was physical and asteroids were real, we'd have videos from Earth of asteroids hitting the moon by now. Why don't we have one?
Because the face of the moon that's facing the Earth is in between us, and so if there was an asteroid that was going to try to hit the side of the moon that we're looking at, it would have to pass the Earth to do so, and the Earth is a bigger gravitational force, and so it would hit the Earth, which means asteroids are more likely to hit the back of the moon or the side, not the part of the moon that's facing us. Makes no sense.
Okay. Yeah, I'm more likely doesn't mean it should never happen, but anyway, we have lunar waves, and they have no answer for lunar waves, and they've been captured with some of the nicest telescopes that exist. They claim that it must be a jet that flew by. Well, that's crazy because we've been recording the sky for the last 5 hours. There are no jets, no planes. There are lunar waves. And actually, we've seen that there are waves in the entire sky now in space, quote unquote. But yeah, I mean, the moon is not what you think it is. And if you really think some Masons pulled their Masonic flag out on the moon in 69 and read a Bible verse and haven't been back in 50 years, then this conversation may not be for you.
Like lunar waves, do you think there are waves on the moon's surface or something?
No, like we've actually observed and recorded the fact that there are waves that go across the moon.
So you think there's waves on the moon's surface? Okay.
I didn't even say the word surface. Why would I say such a word? Lunar waves are a real thing. Have you ever researched them?
They are not a real thing. There are no waves.
But you've never
the
researched them, but
surface.
you know they're not a real thing. That's crazy.
Like just Google lunar waves. Like literally nothing comes up. It's not a thing.
Yeah, Google. Yeah, because Google doesn't hide stuff. Google's your best friend. Trust me. TJump knows. He's 7 boosters deep.
I can find all the other conspircy theories.
Look, we get it, bro. We get it. You're waiting for Biden.
There be careful what we say on the air, just because we don't want to get this demonetized. All
right, Crow.
Talk about those things.
Crow 777. So Crow with 2 R, CRROW 777 lunar waves. He's got them documented many times.
Is that a published journal? I'm gonna go with no.
Good one.
Pretty good burn, actually. Yes.
Funny is I could show you some public journals that would make you regret your decisions the last 3 years. You wouldn't want to read those. You would just, as soon as I give you the published paper, just like earlier when I showed, no, that's a real published peer-reviewed paper, objectively. Then he says, oh, let me Google how he's a quack. So they immediately shift the goalpost to, oh, well, let me discredit that person with the genetic fallacy. So all it is sophistry. It's always an attempt to like dismiss the info, because if they actually have to talk about the information and the evidence, they stand no chance. They're uninformed. So it's a tactic. And I think that real truth seekers will clearly see that that's the case. And if not, I don't care.
Well, that's what flat flurfs usually do. They ignore the actual data that's being presented and say, you're just not looking or not paying attention, blah, blah, blah. No. That's all they really say. And then mischaracterize the opponent's position, because that's all they can do. Like I actually give discoveries and they do nothing but post hoc rationalization. And he says, but you haven't presented any real. It's just a flurf tactic. Debunk.
Let's move on from there. We're
projection.
Not. All right. So I do want to ask right quick. We got a couple spicy ones here in the live chat. All right, you fellows are good for it, are you?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Newsflash: Austin's opener is utter nonsense. He's just getting stuff wrong. Please check everything he said. It will set you free from cults and conmen. It's from Kango 44. Thoughts? What's it?
Yeah, like all that TJump said the whole time, all that the chat said the whole time, and all the super chats will say is that I'm wrong. They'll never offer specificity, but you can go research it, right? I just now actually quoted in context, it's not just misquoted, quote mined. In context, a person that was personally friends with Einstein, that covered relativity and taught it at university for 20 years, one of the most well-known and established relativity experts ever, explaining what I was claiming, right? I've given you all the math, all the physics, it all checks out. So if you actually do go verify what I'm saying, that there's a kinematic and dynamic equivalence, you will see that it wasn't nonsense. But I will say, last thing, it is a very effective tactic. And I will also concede TJump is really good at it. He's really good at it. One of the better ones. He even got me flustered at the beginning, right? Which, I'm sorry for. He's really good at it. If you just baselessly claim victory in a convincing manner, void of substantive specificity, it can lure in those not in the know. But you can look at the PowerPoint, look at the specific claims. I know I had to go fast and go fact check everything I said and go look at In the Field on my channel. You'll see. I'm talking to PhD astronomers that disagree with me about it, and they're agreeing with what I said in my PowerPoint, which goes to show you that super chat is just a lie.
All right. Well, I'm going to give TJump a chance to respond, but that is why I moved us into those rounds as well, because I did want to make sure that everybody felt like they were getting an equal chance to speak. And I think things went pretty smoothly after that point. So I hope everybody felt like that was fair on my end. But TJump, he's kind of invoked your character a bit there. So a chance to defend yourself there against what he said, and we'll bounce it back.
Well, I don't need to defend myself. Actual science and actual philosophy work just fine. And so since he doesn't know what a post hoc rationalization is or what underdetermination is, I debunked all of his arguments like way, way earlier on in the debate. And there was nothing left just to give actual data and then show how the actual data compares to FLIRF data. And then, well, the actual data wins. And then that's all there is to it.
All right.
That's why he avoided the data like the plague, bro.
Like Crusher, you don't have any data. They can't explain it. It's all post hoc rationalization. Good job. I already debunked that one, bro.
Coming in from LJ. Once you realize seawater doesn't curve, you wake up from the globe religion. T-Dump. At what size? Oh, said T-Dump. My goodness. I'm sorry. T-Jump. that is what he put, though. Sorry. I was just reading it. I did warn you there was a few spicy ones in here, and now I'm just reading them verbatim. At what size do you all observe flat bodies of water starting to curve?
It's been asked and answered many times by people who've actually researched this. You can just go ask Katz. He'll demonstrate it for you. It's easy.
All right. LJ, once again, coming in. You're in the right space for this. 199. Why do we have 0 non-CGI videos of space in 2023?
We do have non-CGI videos of space. What are you talking about? We love literal pictures of actual space from space.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Last few questions have been muted, says Ozian. Yeah, sorry about that, everybody. I might have hit that when I ran off to use the old you-know-what. So the first one was from Congo. You could check it out in the live chat, but we were just answering LJ's. Once you realize seawater doesn't curve, you wake up from globe religion. TJump, at what size do you observe flat bodies of water start to curve? And then the next one was from LJ. Why do we have 0 non-CGI videos of space in 2023? So I didn't know if you'd hear my toilet flushing. Come on now, guys. I got to be classy here. All right, over you, Witsit, as I mentioned that. Right.
TJump said that we do have them, and he said, I promise I'm right. Scientists agree with me, and Witsit just doesn't understand. There, we'll save some time. I will say what I've discovered is that a lot of people say, oh, Austin's scared to debate flat Earth now, so he talks about geocentrism. No, what I've discovered is the people that just spew these remedial ad homs and stuff like that about flat Earth, they're also not willing to be intellectually honest about geocentrism. So, like, why even discuss something as like worldview altering as flat Earth? Let's start with the fact that you can't prove the Earth is in motion, and your own model, your own physics, relativity says that you cannot. And if someone can't be honest, be like, well, yeah, according to relativity, the Earth could be in the center of the universe. If they can't be honest about that, then why would I discuss something else with them? So just to clarify, and that's why I was trying to explain to him, even if you believe in space missions and you believe in all this other stuff, according to your own model's physics or claimed physics, anomalous physics, it could be geocentric. And I encourage you to open your mind and think about that, bro. think about it, and then go read Stephen Hawking, Stubbornly Persistent Illusion, who says, oh, well, we choose the idea that we're not in the center based on humility and philosophical preference, and that's not science, right? And so I just want people to know the truth and make their own decision. But anyway, there you go.
Could be magical farting fairies, therefore magical farting fairies. Good job. I love it. Witsit, greatest argument
like dark
ever.
matter and dark energy and the Big Bang.
Right.
And
well, let's carry on there, fellas. Congo 44 once again, and I'm going to keep a good eye on that mute button, everybody. You know, I haven't done that in a hot minute. It must be because TJump's back, and he's pulling me back in the old days. I think it's been 7 months since TJump has been here. You know, we're glad to see you back on the forum, and hopefully we'll see you back for lots of more juicy discussions. Congo 44 for $5 says, question for Witsit. Have you done TJump's moon radar experiment yet? As a truth seeker, I would think you would want to do it as soon as possible.
No, I haven't done it because it wouldn't mean anything to me. Because if the radar claims of the moon are true, which if you actually, I don't know anything about TJump's experiment, but I would like to see them shot at the moon and away from the moon. But if the moon is plasma, for example, it could be many things, then the ionization of the plasma would still reflect the radio wave depending on the megahertz of the frequency. Meaning, if the radio frequency is equal to or lower than the ionization or the frequency of the moon, then it would in fact reflect it back, which is, of course, the globe model's claim to try to save it away with the ionosphere from radio waves that go too far, right? And this is a well-known fact in physics in the lab, that if you have like ionization, so plasma is just ionized gas, and you shoot radio waves at it, if the frequency of the radio wave is equal to or lower than the frequency of the ionized gas, it will reflect it back. Right. And then the duration of signal is how they claim to determine the distance. But if their assumption of the medium is wrong, which it is, and top level of physics is now saying dark matter superfluid and maybe more dense in space than we thought, blah, blah, blah. If the medium's different, the duration of signal is different. Thus, your distance interpolation is different. Now, I know some of these concepts are new to people, but just digest what I said and research it. It's certainly not word salad.
Any thoughts, TJump, before we move on?
Word salad, absolutely word salad. The experiment's real simple. If you bounce radio waves off of the moon and they bounce back to you, then the moon's round and you can tell the distance from the moon from wherever you sent the radio waves. And if the distance is approximately the same from anywhere where you send it from the moon, then guess what? The moon's a globe. Because if it was flat, you'd get vastly different distances when you bounce radio waves off of the moon and get them to come back. It's a very simple experiment, which it just spews word salad of things he doesn't understand to try to cover up the fact that he doesn't actually have an answer for any of the actual simple science.
He avoided everything I said because
I literally just addressed it.
Except you didn't address that the ionization of gas,
oh my God,
the frequency will reflect the signal back if it's equal to or less than. Avoided it, and you avoided
that doesn't address the problem. Witsit.
You avoided that the assumption of the medium is required to determine the distance with the duration of the signal. And that's because I have a very curated answer that you cannot rebut and are ill-equipped to rebut. So
okay. What you said was so inanely stupid because you don't understand the actual problem. The reason you bounce radio waves off the moon is to measure the distance. And so you bounce them from different places. So none of that shit you said matters because all of that affects the radio waves in every direction the same. And so you still get to be able to triangulate the distance to the moon is equivalent from each different point you measure it, which means guess what? World not flat, bro.
No, it doesn't mean that because the moon has a position, and if the ionization frequency is equal to or less, if the signal sent is equal to or less, then it will reflect back to you. And then if you are making an inaccurate assumption of the medium, which you clearly are, if you even research that, which you haven't.
So again, that's all solved. That's all solved.
You can't rebut that.
No, that's all solved by if you send the same radio wave.
He couldn't rebut it.
All right,
I will revolve it right now. It's very simple. Send the same frequency from multiple different locations. It'll affect whatever the gibberish nonsense word salad you said the same in both locations. And guess what? If you get the same numbers, world not flat, bro. So all of the stuff you said is invalidated by the method of the experiment I already proposed. You just don't understand it because you don't understand basic science.
And first of all, the test obviously hasn't actually been done. Secondly,
it
even
literally
if
has been
it had
done.
been, Even if it had no,
Yes.
it hasn't.
Yes.
It absolutely has
it's
not.
called ham radio experiments. These literally have been done many,
They're
many
called
times
ham
every
radio
year.
experiments.
Yes. For what are they called? Moon to Earth, moon to something, something.
They're called like
Moon
moon bounce.
to south.
Yeah, but look, here's the deal. It doesn't prove the distance
Yeah, it
because you
does.
assume the medium. Okay, let me explain it to the room. 30 seconds. The way that they are claiming that you determine the distance to the moon with radio waves is you send a signal and it bounces back. They say, okay, it takes 2.2 seconds. So since we know space is a vacuum, okay, we can know how fast that radio waves propagate in a vacuum. Therefore, if we take the 2.2 seconds, use the assumption of a vacuum, we can tell you how far it's traveled through that vacuum because we know the rate of propagation of radio waves through the vacuum. If the medium is something else, for example, more dense, then it would be closer and your assumption would be incorrect, as well as it doesn't even have to be solid matter to bounce the radio waves back because just like the globe claims with the ionosphere, if the ionization of the gas...
Again, none of that matters, Witsit. I already debunked all
back.
of that nonsense. That's irrelevant to the experiment. The experiment doesn't care what the moon is made of. The experiment doesn't matter how far the moon away is. What matters is the distance to the moon the same or different from each point you test the experiment. If the moon is here and you measure it from here, it's going to be closer than if it's from here and you measure it. So if the distance is vastly different, world flat. If distance the same from everywhere, world round. It doesn't matter what it's made of. It doesn't matter how far away it is. None of that gibberish word salad you said was relevant to the experiment, was that you just don't understand basic science.
And of course, it wouldn't even be the same on a globe. That goes to show
there'd be a slight difference on a globe. On a flat Earth, there'd be a big difference. So,
wait, why? How close does flat Earth claim that the moon is?
Forget what was it, like 6,000 miles or something? I forget.
No one claims that. You just saying you have to straw man.
No, there's lots of people who've claimed that. Are you kidding me? I've
debunked
lots of crazy flat earthers.
You projected earlier saying you have to mischaracterize your position, but that's all you can do.
What
is sophistry and mis?
I've just debunked your worldview.
Just move on. You have no chance.
Why haven't you done the experiment yet?
Why
haven't you done the experiment? What's it?
We've already explained it isn't exclusive evidence, and you should go back and watch the debate, take notes, and research the terms.
I just debunked you. Word salad. You're done.
Okay, next one is coming in, guys, from Congo 44. You gotta like the spirit of these two fellas here having this discussion. So hit that like button if you haven't already. We're having a good time having this discussion back and forth. Next one's coming in for you, TJump. It says, Witsit, do you understand neutrino detectors completely debunk you? Maybe TJump could explain it to you. So we'll put it over to you, TJump. Do you know what neutrino detectors are?
Probably referring to the experiment where you can send neutrinos through the planet and like receive it on the other end, and so you know that the world is round, because if you're like shooting a gun down and someone detects it on the bottom, then they must necessarily be below you, as opposed to if the world is flat, it wouldn't work. Probably what they're referring to.
Okay, so what he's clearly talking about is they claim to be receiving neutrinos from the sun underneath, but if you actually look at it, what they do is they interpolate the data through a model, they assume the position of the sun, and actually run it through a graph that organizes the colors based on the assumed distribution of neutrinos, which of course they claim can potentially go faster than the speed of light and pass through all matter, and they don't know exactly what it is, and they can't even interpret exactly how the machine itself is receiving it because they don't know exactly what neutrinos are. And top-level physicists will tell you all of that, but I would like to point out, all the super chats, TJump the entire debate, all he could bring up is flat earth, flurf, flurf, because they could never debate geocentrism. I would dunk on all of them 500v1. They don't even know what the kinematic dynamic equivalence is. They don't know what the neotychonic system is. They don't know what the Newtonian analysis is. They don't know anything. They blindly believe the consensus, okay? And that's why all these super chats are about flat earth. All that TJump is talk about is flat earth, because they can't defend that the earth is a tilted, wobbling, spinning ball revolving around the sun in space. They can't defend heliocentrism because their own model says, oh, it could be in the center. We have no idea. So I just want the audience to keep an eye on that. Everything they talk about is flat earth, so that they can discredit me. Right? They can poison the well and discredit me because they can say flat earth is so stupid. Let's avoid the fact that Austin absolutely intellectually eviscerated TJump when it comes to geocentrism, and he avoided it with all specificity the entire time. Right? So it'd be cool if you guys can talk about the subject. but you can't
I don't think you
because
understand how
don't
words
know
work,
anything
Witsit.
about it.
Because when I say flat Earth, I'm collectively also referring to geocentrism as both equally stupid. So anytime I refer to flat Earth, it also covers the topic of geocentrism. So everything I said debunked all of your arguments and all of the flat Earth arguments in addition to those. So
How do
it's
neutrino detectors
both.
debunk geocentrism?
Well, they don't. That wasn't my argument. That
Oh,
was
how
his
does the
argument.
moon bounce debunk geocentrism?
That was from a question, not during the debate.
Okay, so nothing you've said.
Witsit, stop being stupid for a second. The things I said during the debate were debunking your geocentric nonsense and your
Name
flat
one.
Earth nonsense.
Name
The
one you
things,
said that.
shush, 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 shush. The things in the Q&A, which also address flat Earth questions because you have stupid flat Earth beliefs in addition to that, are not necessarily related to the debate topic, which was during the debate. So during the debate, I debunked all of your dumb geocentric nonsense and your flat Earth nonsense with all of my arguments. And then we addressed some other stuff from the Q&A as well, but you don't understand how words work. So you have a problem intellectually with how those relate.
There's
Last
a
word to you,
proportionate there's a proportionate relationship between his uncomfortability and ineptitude and insecurity and insults. So like, I don't understand how words work. I'm stupid. I'm dumb. All this stuff. It's proportionate relationship to how ignorant he is as he projects. Because if I went to ask him, name one thing specifically you said that debunked geocentrism, he's got nothing. He just started listing off missions.
All
and
of
he
those
avoided
missions. Yes.
and
All of
Sorry.
missions.
I don't mean to cut you off here, just to kind of focus in on what we're doing right now with the Q&A. I know that he's implicated you a bit there, and I think you kind of
well, just
got
to give
through
like a
the point
5-second
there.
response.
Just, well,
these
I'll
models
definitely
make predictions which are successful. There you go. That debunks geocentrism.
Okay, so I'll let you make that point. That's fine. But I do want to ask Witsit the question here from the super chatter. And sorry, there was a fly that was bugging me. He was trying to Mike Pence me there for a second, and I wasn't going to let it
TJump on
happen.
fire. Like, bro, if you think
Wait, what?
TJump is like winning this debate, like, I hope that you stay in your state of mind because it's just pathetic.
So I do want to ask the question from Congo here, and then we're going to move on. So Witsit, do you know what so do you understand neutrino detectors? Completely debunked you. I'll give you 10 to 15 seconds to kind of wrap up this question here, and then we'll
Yeah, I
move on
did.
to
I
Wade.
explained it. I explained how they don't. I explained that neutrinos are a phenomenon that no one can fully explain. They claim it goes through all material. It may go faster than the speed of light. We don't even know what they are. All top level physicists will tell you that. And whenever globe earthers bring it up, which is a diversion away from tonight's subject because they can't defend heliocentrism, like I explained, they claim that it's because we see the sun through the earth. But actually, if you go research the papers and read them, which I have, they actually run the neutrino observations and data through a certain algorithm, and then they start to throw out all the stuff away from where they assume the sun is through the earth, and then they create a graph and a visual illustration from that. That's what actually happens, and no one will actually address that.
All right, this next one coming in again for you, Witsit, from Wade Eberly. Why do the apparent epicycles of the planet's motions fit so neatly into ellipses when we center our perspective on the sun?
Yeah,
that looks like a bunch of typos to me. I'm sorry.
yeah. Well, actually, this is just a fact that whenever heliocentrism was first proposed, because what had happened was they took Tycho Brahe's data, observations, and model, which was a geocentrist, right? They took his data and then tried to make it a heliocentric model with Copernicus. They had to add significantly more epicycles to the heliocentric model to make it work. So it's funny. So both systems have epicycles, and that's because if you look at the torus field, there are naturally epicycles within that elongated sphere that is the torus field, right? But whenever heliocentrism tried to take Tycho Brahe's data and make it a heliocentric model, it had to add significantly more epicycles to make the math work. So it's actually significantly more complicated and works way less efficiently than a geocentric central position. But, who cares about facts, I guess,
All right, let's try to get through this next one a little bit quicker, I guess, because, I mean, we still got like 30 minutes before we'll get to that 2-hour mark that I kind of set that we'll try to get you guys out of here. But I'm just trying to renege on saying this name. It's Swampy Pubes. What a fantastic name you have. Just like go wash up or something and change your YouTube name. Anyways, Witsit, I disagree with you just about every single belief you hold, but I have to admit your new setup is nice, dude.
Thank you, brother.
What are you rocking over there? What's going on? I like the chairs in the background there. You see those guys? Yeah. I like
I haven't
that.
actually even like finished
Got a
setting
little
anything
thing
up,
over his
but
head.
thank you.
Got your nose. All right, now I'm gonna get out of there. All right, so so next one, LJ, brainwash TJ. If the moon was physical and asteroids were real, we'd have videos from Earth of asteroids hitting the moon by now. Why don't, oh, yes, that one while
Yep.
he was out. Yes, sorry. Ozian talks. What journal did Popov publish in? Peer review means that other scientists validated his results and not just published in a random paper. I don't see it. It's for you, Witsit.
Yeah, so I don't know what it is because for some reason my Acrobat is not loading. But you can look up Newtonian Machine analysis of the Neo-Tychonian model of planetary motion. It's the European Journal of Physics. I wonder if that's good enough. Is the European Journal of Physics good enough? I wonder. No, now that it's the European Journal of Physics, okay, and he's well accredited, now we have to try to discredit this guy because it is peer reviewed with a very renowned journal of physics. So that's called shifting the goalposts and a genetic fallacy.
All right. If you see me smiling, I was just reading some of the live chats there. They're kind of fun. All right, so let's carry on. Any thoughts on your side there, T-Jump, while I scroll up here, or carry on?
Yeah, it was peer reviewed and debunked. So he's right that it was published and peer reviewed and then debunked. So that was kind of, maybe I should have clarified that. It had to be peer reviewed and then accepted, like supported, confirmed. Like, yes, you can publish papers in journals and get them rejected. Sure. Oh, okay. Congrats.
Oh, let me point this out because let's be real. He's never read the paper, doesn't know anything about it. He claimed it was fake. Now he knows all about it. He doesn't know anything about it. But it wasn't debunked. Everyone concedes the paper's accurate. He didn't even propose that the Earth is. Stop interrupting me.
No, I literally gave you an example rejecting all of that.
He didn't even propose that the Earth was geocentric. He just said, look at the Newtonian, Neo-Tychonian analysis mathematically and physically, and you will see there is an equivalence of inertial forces. And everyone conceded that that is in fact true. That's why it got published in the European Journal of Physics.
No, that's not how publication works.
You never read it.
Shush.
Let's let TJ respond there.
Let's educate Witsit on basic publications. There are lots of publications. The fact that it was published does not mean everyone agrees, which it doesn't understand science number 3037. And when I actually gave the Cornell University response to this paper that shows actually debunked and wrong, I think apparently he just ignored that. Maybe he didn't hear it. I'll give it again. In Self-Contradiction, Machian Geocentrism Entails Absolute Space by Herbert Hartman. This debunks everything in that paper, which is why it is rejected. The fact that you got it published, good job, Flurf. But it's rejected by the consensus. And I forgot, I should have added this in. If you get peer-reviewed published papers, they have to actually be accepted by the consensus, not rejected by the consensus. That's important. You can publish papers in journals all the time. There's an entire journal about parapsychology. Good job. That doesn't mean people agree with it. It's just junk science.
Dude, it's so funny. You've never read it. I've read it. It doesn't actually invoke absolute space. So you just got absolutely destroyed by any true intellectual that goes and reads the paper.
I don't think you understand how words work.
Stop interrupting me. They specifically denounces absolute space and says that that was the lethal assumption of Newton to assume that there was absolute space, which of course Einstein said that there was not. And in fact, it says that there is angular momentum of the entire cosmos going around the Earth.
How are you so bad at this?
See, it's like I'm just talking over your head. Let's be
yeah. So the paper specifically says his claim that it doesn't entail absolute space is debunked by his own paper because it's a self-contradiction, like literally the first words, in self-contradiction. This paper, which claims that there is no absolute space, actually entails absolute space. Please learn words.
It does not, though.
Please. Academic peer-reviewed paper, Cornell University, actually accepted by the consensus. Debunked.
Really? Did you poll the consensus?
Yes.
Or just confirm your bias?
Yes, I did. I polled the consensus.
Well, I've talked to 10 physicists personally that admit that that admit that the math and the physics are completely viable and accurate. But you know all the consensus and you've never even read the paper. You're laughably a sophist, dude.
Did you forget the
You're
problem of
objectively a
underdetermination?
sophist.
Did you forget the problem of underdetermination? You can make
Do you
up
know what
farting
sophistry?
fairies to explain everything. It doesn't make a difference.
It didn't do that. It used Newtonian mechanics.
Oh, I don't
All
think you
right,
understand
we're moving on,
underdetermination.
fellas, to the next super chat. Hate stares coming
In
in.
fact, people act like this dude is winning. It's crazy.
This is not so
Cope.
bad. He says, "Good job, Ryan. Keep up
All
the good
insults.
work."
What are you talking about?
I have a super chat, guys. Look, somebody's complimenting me. You know, I like that. That's fine. Ask debaters, do you know the law of flat earthers?
Their own citations contradict them.
It's
And
a
you know
good
what's
one.
funny is
It's the first
they
one.
don't though.
They
They
do.
don't, though.
They do.
They literally don't though.
They literally do, though.
So wait. Hey, watch this. I'm gonna expose you because I've been pretty nice to you, frankly. You have no idea. Hey, TJump. According to relativity, could the Earth be in the center of the universe kinematically and dynamically? Yes or no?
Kinematically and dynamically are not actual things in relativity. Relativity is indifferent to the position of the planet. It doesn't actually say anything about the position of the planet.
This dude just said that kinematically and dynamically aren't actual things in relativity. Kinematics is about the geometric path, and dynamic is about the force that causes the path. If you knew the first thing about astronomy and astrophysics and relativity, you would know that there's a concession of equal justification of coordinate systems due to a kinematic equivalence, and that if you actually examine the mathematics and the physics of relativity, there's a dynamic equivalence, meaning the force that relativity invokes, the force that isn't a force that acts like a force, actually can be equally justified on a central position, which is why Einstein himself said everything occurs on the Earth as if the Earth's at rest, and it's just equally valid to say that the sun moves around the Earth or the Earth moves around the sun.
So I already
That's
debunked
Einstein's
you,
own
and he's
quote.
just spewing more word salad. Like, again, kinematic is not a thing. Kinematic is a relation between two other things. You need nouns there. You can't just say kinematic. It's not a thing. Dynamic, again, not a thing. You need nouns there. A dynamic relation between two things. He doesn't understand physics, and he doesn't understand relativity. And I answered his question, which he said I wouldn't answer because he doesn't understand basic science.
The
Oh,
kinematic
all
and
right.
dynamic equivalence within the heliocentric and geocentric model according to relativity. You don't even understand. It's obviously based on the relationship of different bodies. That's what the heliocentric and geocentric model is. It's a dynamic and kinematic equivalence. His rebuttal was those are not things. Okay, perfect. I told you I would expose you.
You didn't.
All
Good
right.
job. You failed.
I
So
objectively
you
just
say
did,
there's
though.
the dynamic equivalence between this. You need a noun there. There needs to be a noun. If there's no noun, it's just an adverb or an adjective. It doesn't mean anything. You can't just say adjective.
The chat
Adjective.
is coping
Adjective.
so hard.
Adjective. You need a noun
All
before the
right.
adjective.
We're
Cope
gonna move
harder,
on to
bro.
the next super chat there, fellas. Keep them coming in. There's lots of super chats. I'm gonna set a 45-minute timer, I think, here once again.
Well,
'cause
I'm
that's
going in like
usually-
10 minutes.
All right, so that's a good idea. Then I'll set a
Probably
timer here
best,
so we
bro.
can.
You better get out of
there
here,
we
bro.
We're gonna skip some of these ad hominem ones then, guys, and just move into the ones that are substantive. And I'm gonna try to shush while I look for them. Run Boston Bear, TJump. All the discoveries you keep listing are biased in philosophy that infinite space is real. It's
You read that
not.
one.
No one has played golf on the moon.
You already read that one.
Oh wow, yeah.
Dude,
Well,
there's
that
so
one's-
many people coping in the chat, bro. It's crazy.
Why are you
one's-
stealing my insult? I said you're coping. You can't steal my insults.
Oh,
Come
I
on,
was
be
talking
original.
about-
Be original.
I'm talking about how like people are pretending that you even got close to rebutting anything I've said this whole time.
All right. I said
People
we're
can
gonna stay
understand
away
words
from-
better than Witsit. Congratulations.
Let's stay away from
That's
ad
the
hominem stuff. We're
57th ad
gonna
hom.
focus here, guys.
I've had more than
LJ.
that. Come on.
How
Math.
did TJump isolate gravity from electrostatics? 45 seconds. TJump.
What's the relevance to the question? I don't understand the question.
All right. Maybe you can give us a little insight. I'm going to pause the clock. What does LJ mean when they say, how did TJump isolate gravity from electrostatics?
Okay. He's saying that electrostatics is 10 to the 36 power stronger than gravity is even claimed to be. And it's all material is intrinsically electrostatic because all molecular and intermolecular attractive forces are electrostatic in nature. So if you're going to claim there's an additional force there that does the same thing as it, how can you isolate gravity from electrostatics if it's ever present? That's his question.
Oh, so yeah, it's easy. Gravity is 40 orders of magnitude weaker than the electromagnetic force. And so if it was electrostatic, everything would be crushed together very quickly. So we can definitively show that it's a different force with absolute certainty. And if you don't know that, you're dumb. Dumb as rocks.
All right.
He
Next one
didn't
coming
answer.
It literally just did.
If someone thinks you did, okay.
Next one coming in. Donate to my Cash App so I can make. What is your name? It's too long. I can't read
I
it all.
need 5 hours of this guy because apparently people think he's really doing something. Can
All
we
right.
set up a 5-hour debate, TJump? We'll put some money on the line, like just automatically you get paid 5 hours, but it has to be like timed. You
If I
can't
get
interrupt us.
paid, yeah, paid absolutely.
All right, cool.
Let's
Let's
just
do
play.
it.
Let's just play poker on the air, guys. Come on.
I think I
let's
can
just
get
have some
awesome
fun.
clips, bro.
All
You're
right.
gonna go viral, bro, if we can get a
Awesome.
5-hour stream out of you.
Appreciate it.
Goodness. Austin, you can't explain the basic observation of boats disappearing over the horizon bottom first. Your only response will be to lie and say it doesn't happen. I feel bad for poor Witsit Jr. Yeah, that's a little
Yeah, I
on
mean,
me
they
at the
always have
end.
to talk about my beautiful 10-month-old baby because
Yeah,
they're
you don't talk about people's
degenerates that
children.
could
I'll
never
say
even get
that's
a female. Yeah, but anyway,
give me a second there.
that's
Goodness.
also again, you're so obsessed with talking about flat Earth because you can't defend heliocentrism. And I think it's pretty telling that not one response, not one super chat can defend heliocentrism. It's always about flat Earth. Anyway, yeah, the angular resolution is relative to the reception and propagation angles of what you are observing. And so if you're on the surface and you're 6 feet above it, but there's a 100-foot building, well, the bottom of that building or the bottom of a boat is closer to your eye level, which means that
10
the
seconds.
propagation reception angles fall below the resolution angle quicker. This is very simple. And of course, the attenuation rate is higher at the bottom of the atmos of light because of the turbulence and the absorption rate due to the density of the medium.
All
Word
right.
salad.
30 seconds on this one. Wisco Matt. It's off topic, but I'll give you 30 seconds. I bet TJump believes a phone call was made from the moon to the White House in 1969, and that is believable. We lost technology to get back there.
I have no idea about the phone call. I really don't care. We have been to the moon. I don't care about whether or not there was a phone call. I really have no position on.
All right. Witsit, why do sorry, this is also from Wisco Matt. And thank you also, I should say, to Congo 44. I'm sorry we didn't read your question because it's ad hominem, and Crackling Crow just sent a winky face, winking back at you. You good looking super chatter. Thank you for that. All right. So Wisco Matt says, Witsit, why do some physicists say there is a crisis in cosmology?
Because relativity doesn't match the actual observations. So you have the dark matter problem, which supposedly makes up over 80%, 83% of all matter in the universe, but they don't know what it is, can't define it. And then whenever they actually look at dark matter halos and galaxy, it doesn't match the predictions. Also, you have the flatness problem that has to require like mathematically impossible odds to have the perfect energy density for the universe to be flat. That's called a fine tuning problem. I could go forever, but basically the cosmological crisis is that they can't explain the dark energy problem or the dark matter problem, and that space has to be expanding and accelerating 4 times the speed of light, 4 times faster than the speed of light, and they can't explain the causal mechanism or the actual energy for that expansion. And they also have a Hubble tension problem where the actual rate at which it supposedly expands doesn't match with their different methodologies, which they use to determine distances and everything else. So they're in a true state of crisis because they have no actual causal mechanism for gravity. They can't explain dark matter. They can't explain dark energy and many other things. There you go.
Oh, well, you were right at the end there. So, yeah, let's continue on there.
There are actual things we actually see, and we
Science
can't
doesn't
explain
know
them.
yet.
Oh no.
See, that's all he's got. Science doesn't know everything yet. They're like, no,
All right.
it refutes your model. You can't offer specificity. You're out of your league. Let's move to the next question.
They can't
All
explain it, therefore I'm right. Argument from ignorance.
I know,
Congratulations.
it refutes your model. You'll catch up one day, but you'll just never actually publicly say it.
Argument from ignorance.
All right, my
Bro, is Biden come out with a new booster, bro?
all right, let's continue on. Maurice Smithville, has TJump ever had a debate where he doesn't call the other person an idiot? So they're accusing you of making too many ad hominems throughout the debate. Any thoughts on that? And then we'll move on.
I exclusively call people idiots when they are significantly intellectually beneath me and not worth my time to actually do any research. So I do lots of actual real debates with like real professors who are really actually intellectually and have valid points. But Witsit is not that. He makes up bullcrap science numbers and doesn't understand things and doesn't actually do research and doesn't understand criticisms. Doesn't listen to people who actually understand
I'm
things
sorry,
when they tell
TJump.
them.
I won't let you just go on a
You're
big fan of that.
oozing humility, bro.
You
Wait,
guys,
I'm
you
gonna
guys
go grab
got
some
all
books.
that
I
out.
saw one of
Thank
the
you.
questions. I'm gonna go grab a book.
Okay,
The
go
next
ahead.
question for me. It's right there, but
No, the next one's for TJump. So you go
Perfect,
ahead
perfect.
and yeah, I was gonna say I think you guys have kind of you've been at each other quite a bit throughout the debate. So I think everybody knows how you feel about each other's thoughts. Nobody's confused about how how you feel about that. So donate to my Cash App says another win for TJump. Austin Witless got schooled.
Thank you.
So you got a fan there. They just came in to say that and have a little fun. So thanks for that. Ninja Witsit is out of his depth. Quick, get him a life jacket. Well, gee, now that I'm reading all the ad hominem ones, he's gonna come back and be like, Ryan, you said. All right. Base Theory says after show on my channel, Base Theory. Oh, dual after shows. So you can join Base Theory on his after show or Base Theory. I mean, if you want to join me and Ozian over on Matters Now, I'm going to put the link in the live description here in just a moment. So if anybody wants to join us over there, they're more than welcome to it. And we'll talk a little bit about what we witnessed here as far as this discussion. What did we witness, everybody? What went down? Now Witsit has returned for the book. We shall return to our epic live discussion. So,
you wanted to show us a book.
Yeah, someone asked about books that they can read from based on the stuff I'm saying. So I'm going to run through a few books super fast because these are fire books. So this is Robert Lobbard, Harvard University, talks about how ether is inevitable, a different universe. Frank Wilczek, Nobel Prize winner, Lightness of Being, also talk about how his ether is inevitable. He's a quack. Longing for the Harmonies, also by Frank Wilczek, explains that everything's intrinsically vibrational and results in an ether. Seeing Red, showing that the red shift distribution of the universe is distinctly impossible within the heliocentric model. That is by Halton Arp. And then this is the Michelson-Morley experiments. And this is The Stubbornly Persistent Illusion by Stephen Hawking himself, which is a forward of Einstein, or basically he writes a forward and then puts all of Einstein's quotes supporting it, which is that the stubbornly persistent illusion that the Earth is in the center of the universe is unavoidable.
All right.
For Harry Potter, we need more useful information from Harry Potter.
Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking is Harry Potter. Perfect rebuttal.
All right. So from what I know, TJump doesn't have much time. So let's try to keep it to 30 seconds here going forward. TJump doesn't even realize geocentric doesn't need dark matter. So him explaining it is just irrelevant is another win for Witsit. 30 seconds, TJump, to respond.
Again, dark matter is a phenomenon. We see something happening and they need to explain that somehow. They explain it with magic space goo. So that is their dark matter. They have magic space goo as their dark matter. The extra stuff there that explains the orbits of the planets around galaxies is space goo. They're also claiming there's extra stuff there we don't know about, and it's space goo ether. This is not a hard thing to understand. The flurfs and geocentrists also are explaining dark matter with something else. They just somehow claim it's not the same problem.
All right, that's time there. So next one, Wiscomat TJump. Right. I have never seen someone act so smug while all of his arguments are fallacious. Appeal to authority, appeal to consensus, ad homs, etc. So you got another critic in the live discussion there. Any thoughts for them before we move on?
Well, appeals to authority and consensus are only fallacious if they're not actual authorities, and so appealing to the actual authorities isn't fallacious. Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy on fallacies number 9, I think.
If you think that it's automatically a valid argument because your perceived authority says it, it's intrinsically fallacious. The evidence has to support it. It's pretty simple.
Well, that's actually true. Witsit is correct there. The reason they're authorities is because they make the discoveries, who are not the flurfs or geocentrists, because they don't make the discoveries. The reason
I like to point out also that, like with the dark matter thing, bro, like you're just completely off the mark. If you assume relativity, then dark matter has to exist. That's why many astrophysicists are proposing modified Newtonian dynamics to replace relativity so that it doesn't need dark matter. Geocentrism doesn't need dark matter at all, and there's a variance of potential explanations without it.
Yeah, right. It needs space goo ether, right?
Geocentrism can use that, yes. The vibratory oscillations of a background medium,
and that explains the same data that dark matter.
I'm over your head, bro.
Does that explain the same data dark matter is explaining?
You don't know anything.
Is that a yes or a no?
What?
Does the space goo ether explain the same data dark matter is meant to explain?
Well, no, because dark matter explains the leftover from relativity. The data to explain is the stuff moving in the sky. Relativity doesn't work, so you need dark matter. If you throw dark matter out, you can explain
You're not
all
answering
the
the question.
Sky.
All right, we're going to move on to the next question there, guys. Yehooligan is coming in. We're $2 Canadian, an Ontarian fella who has been co-modding here on Modern Day Debates. So give Yehooligan some yahas in the live chat there. He's a fantastic fella and really easy to get on with, as all of us Canucks seem to be. generally, except for, the ones I know, I guess, besides myself, right? I'm all right, right? And I'm not one of those awful Canucks, am I? Yeah, I am. So. All right, so Yahooligan, thank you, Witsit and TJump for the debate. I have no problem arguing for atheism, says Ozian Talks, which is where we're going to have our after show. I'm going to link that in the live chat in a second here. Esteban Ilbaca, Witsit, dark energy is what we don't know with the physics we do. Relativity. It can be explained by modifying or rewriting relativity. Gravity is the thing either way. Geocentrism can't handle that.
Okay. It's so funny that you guys say things you don't understand. Okay.
I was getting ready to read that.
If you assumed Newtonian gravity, if you assumed Einsteinian gravity, both of them would necessitate you say the Earth could be in the center. I gave you the papers, the math, and the physics. You guys will never rebut it. I've given it to many astrophysics. In addition, okay, they're modifying Newtonian dynamics or replacing relativity because it doesn't work. Well, if the Earth's in the center, there's a variance of issues, or variants of examples of things that could make it work. I can give you, go to my Telegram. You'll see all the links, all the information. Go to my YouTube, right? But for example, if quote unquote gravity is simply an emergent property of the oscillations of the fluid-like background medium, that would explain all the observations. And this is an astrophysics professor at the university in Australia explaining that it would be akin to an ether. Turns out maybe we overlooked it the whole time. These aren't just random quacks. These are lifelong experts, and the evidence supports it. I encourage you to not listen to someone just claiming that the archaic 1905 example is still true and then jump into 2023 and look at the evidence.
All right. So before we move on here, we got quite a few more super chats. TJump, if you did need to jump out for a second there and have a bathroom break like we all did, or
I gotta go. I've got dinner planned, so I have to go.
You've got stuff to do. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, how long do you have potentially to go through the rest of these? But
not any time at all. I gotta go like now, like 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. All right, well, that's all right then. Big round of virtual applause for TJump. TJump, before I let you go, I'll give you the floor. 1 to 2 minutes closing statement.
Potato. All right, thank you. Good night.
All right.
Cool, man. Like, hit me up. We're going to do the 5-hour stream.
Pay me. You got to send me the PayPal first. The money is important.
Bro, check this. We're going to start a little fun. We'll throw you a few $100 and you got to sit there for 5 hours and you got to talk about all these different things. And then we're going to just clip you up and go viral.
Sure. Sounds good.
All right, perfect.